So today's topic is a little bit similar. It's faith versus logic. And Mike, I think you've definitely, been one of the most outspoken atheists that I know of, and you've done a lot for the atheist community. But I guess to start off, I was going to say, what do you think faith is, and does it have a place in your life or in the life of atheists?
Wow. Okay. So you're asking the atheist what faith is. I thought I would define logic, but okay. I'll do my best. I'll do my best. So, I mean, I've always thought that there's different kinds of faith, right? Like, you can have faith in someone. You can have faith in yourself to be able to accomplish something. Having that sort of faith is more like, I would think, confidence. Like, I have faith in myself that I can get promoted at work or something, or accomplish this goal, deadlift 500 pounds eventually. Like, I have faith in myself I'll be able to do it. That's like
Mhm.
confidence in something. However, I think the type of faith we're probably discussing today is not that type of faith. I assume the type of faith we're talking about today is well, my favorite definition is Mark Twain's, is faith is believing something you know ain't so. So that type of faith is actually a way to form beliefs about things without having evidence. That's the other type of faith, I would say. But belief in things when you lack evidence or logic to believe it, you believe it because of faith, and maybe it's because it makes you feel good, or I don't know. I'm actually really curious what Shandon thinks inspires his faith, or how he knows how to direct faith, or what to have faith to believe in without evidence. I'm very curious on Shandon's thoughts on that.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, I actually agree with your definition, your initial definition of faith as a sort of trust or confidence. And I'm not just speaking for myself, or offering some kind of ulterior, pardon me, definition for faith. This one is actually rooted in, say, something like the Bible, where you have references in the New Testament, implicit as they are, because the Bible's not written as a sort of systematic theology. It's not it's not there to adjudicate difficult terms. And so it's not a math book, it's not a science book, it's not a theology book. It's a collection of stories and descriptions and histories and poetry and things of that sort. But implicit in the New Testament is that faith is, of course, something that is trusting in a person in proportion to what the evidence warrants. That would be a New Testament implied understanding. But then there are references to faith with the definite article, like pisteos, which means the faith. And that is typically understood to be the Christian proclamation itself, or the gospel, and then the community that upholds that particular confession. So you'll see parts in the New Testament where it says, hold firm to the faith, or something like that. So they're talking about the message. But faith, as it's used in the more conventional sense, the more familiar sense, is not the Mark Twainian sort of believing apart from evidence. There are no canonical definitions of faith of which I am aware, where faith is defined that way. But it's implied in the New Testament that faith is confidence or trust in a person. And we have further testament to the fact that evidence plays a significant role. Just, on the fly, we have passages like in the Old Testament, we have Isaiah 118, where Yahweh says, come, let us reason. Though your sins are red as scarlet, they will be white as snow. Or all throughout the Gospel of John, Jesus himself consistently says, if you don't believe me, at least believe the works that I do. And it's recognized even by skeptics like Nicodemus in John chapter 3, that no one can do the things that Jesus does unless God is with him. So it's the works that Jesus is doing is seen to be confirming evidences for the confession that Christ is giving. and all through the New Testament. I can go on and on, but I just want to agree with Mike's initial definition and not the latter.
Well, in that case, this may be a very short discussion or just one where we agree, because if that's the definition, your definition of faith, then actually, I don't think that's an interesting debate. Everyone, I think that use of the word faith as in confidence in a person based on evidence. Like for example, I can have faith in myself that I will one day like deadlift 500 pounds, like I said, because I've seen myself progress steadily towards that goal. So there's evidence to believe, have faith, confidence in myself, I'll achieve that. Or, you know, you can have a faith in a friend that they're never going to lie to you because they never have, things like that. That's I don't think I mean, in that case, if that's your definition of faith, I have no disagreement with you, at least. And I don't know if there was supposed to be disagreement, but I definitely agree with you if that's your definition. That's a totally fine use of the word faith that I take no issue with.
So I have a question then. So for Shandon, in terms of like the abstract aspect of faith, like what are your thoughts on that? Like, are there any pros and cons on living like a more faith-driven approach to life over a more logistical one?
Okay, so this is cutting to the heart of sort of my misgiving of the podcast title, which is this insinuation that faith is in opposition to the system of logic. And as I have expressed the definition of faith, I would hope that it's clear that there's not friction between the two. Mike's having confidence in his deadlifting 500 pounds, or me having confidence in someone strapping a harness to me if I'm in the zip line, that wouldn't be contrary to logic. It would be predicated on it, because I would have some grounds for thinking that people who run zipline organizations tend to be reliable. There are safety protocols, legal issues they want to avoid. So I have a battery of evidences that tell me that I can believe a particular company that's going to have a ziplining industry and is going to strap a harness to me. So living by faith in God, say, is analogous, similar to, say, living with a fidelity in marriage. So you marry and you trust that your spouse is going to have faith in you. You vow to have faith in them. And it's that fidelity that, you know, you continue to live day by day. Now, can there be episodes or events that surface that reveal an infidelity on the part of your spouse? Of course. This is what we say in philosophy, is that faith can be defeasible, which is to say that you can have evidence that would undermine or undercut that faith in question.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. Oh, go ahead, Elliot.
Oh, no, that's interesting. It's just I think faith can and should be defeasible, and in that way, faith becomes more reliable, right? Because if there are things that we should increase or decrease our faith with, then it does adjust. But it seems like some believers have what I would say is like 100% faith. So they say, I believe in God 100%, and in a way that it is not defeasible. And that is often seen as a virtue.
Yes, faith as virtue. And that, I would argue, when people say that as faith is a virtue, I'm pretty sure that the faith in that phrase is the type of the Mark Twain type of faith, you know, where it's basically belief without evidence, you know, and they probably don't think of it in that sense, that they're believing something that they know ain't so, but faith is a virtue in the sense that it's a virtue to believe things without evidence. Some things, at least I think some believers would argue that. So maybe, you know, maybe Shandon doesn't agree with that. You know, I'm actually curious if he does think that that sort of faith is a virtue, to believe, say, in God no matter what, and it's non-negotiable. It's just you have faith in it and nothing will change that belief. And I think many believers, if you kind of put it to them that way, you ask them, what do you think of that? what do you think of just having faith in God without evidence? They would say, well, that's a virtue. But I'm curious if Shandon would agree with that, or what his view is on that type of faith, even if that's not his, I suppose, because it is for many, I would think.
Well, that's I don't think that statistic of many would be backed up. I think maybe anecdotally there are folks we may run into who will say, well, I just believe, or I cling to my faith and it doesn't matter what the science or the evidence says or whatever. But I think most of the time, even in those circumstances, folks often confuse what it means to have support for the faith or an understanding of what that faith is grounded in. And I also want to say that this is not a binary issue either. This is not a matter of I either embrace faith in contradistinction to the evidence or I embrace faith based on the evidence. There are respectable epistemological positions within philosophy in general that seed a sort of view of belief that can be held apart from the evidence. One obvious one that nobody really contests would be what are identified as non-inferential beliefs or basic beliefs. Basic beliefs are not arrived at by evidence. If I have a conscious experience of having a headache, that's not based on evidence, it just is to me. That's sort of a foundationalist approach. And then there are more controversial claims about whether you're entitled to believe something apart from evidence, such as, is Michael Gobod actually an embodied mind on another end of a camera who's talking with us, or is he, a piece of software, sophisticated VR software that's giving us the illusion that he's here with us today? And such epistemologists would say, I'm entitled to the belief that Mike is who he says he is. I'm being appeared to Mike Gobotly, as it were. And so I can embrace that. But if you ask me to prove it, I probably couldn't do that. Now, I'm not siding with that position. I just want to mention that there's more of a complexion to epistemology than simply belief and the evidence be damned, or belief based on the evidence.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that actually.
Because there's
go ahead,
evidence, and then you're saying, it's almost like there's two components, right? So here we have the evidence, and then here we have certain amounts of faith.
Yes, but I would say that they're interrelated, that our faith is in proportion to what the evidence warrants, just like it would be in another person. What's your faith in your relationship with a girlfriend or whomever will be in direct proportion to what you know about them and how they live their lives and how they carry themselves, what they say and what they text and all of that.
Just got off the clock, just got on my chill. Called on my homie Brent to see what be the deal. What you trying to do? I'm just trying to heal. Hella floated, never bloated's what I'm trying to feel. Hop in the whip and